so we'll try to get through these quickly. Casey Wallace.
Okay. So for 41, I got sinus rhythm, a heart rate of 70, a PR of 0.12, QRS 0.04, QT 0.32, plus 60 for normal, LVH, and anterior septal ischemia.
Anything in addition to that? 22? Gotcha.
9, sinus rhythm, heart rate 100, PR interval 0.16, QR 0.04, QT interval 0.4, QRS frontal axis or AD, pattern of tracing V1, V2, V3, V4, anteroseptal wall ST elevation, V2, V3, V4, right ventricular hypertrophy, and also I see the left atrial enlargement, anteroseptal injury pattern, inferior
Aneurysm what?
injury,
Aneurysm?
Injury.
Aneuryseptal injury, oh.
It's an inferior age indeterminate infarct.
Yeah, inferior infarction age indeterminate. I don't think there's an anterior infarction. I mean, the ST segment's elevated, the ST segment is concave, the T wave's upright. You might get worried if someone's laying in your ER clutching their chest, but this is not injury pattern. Injury pattern is more convex, T waves are flipped upside down. All right, anything else on this one?
And I also see left ventricular hypertrophy. Is that
I don't think so. What were your criteria? You got it, left atrial enlargement, that's 3 points. What else? It says that's left atrial enlargement.
Oh, sorry, I got
Talking about left ventricular hypertrophy, is that what you said? I don't think there's LVH in this one. Anyone else get LVH?
Yeah.
Have an argument for that? What's the argument?
I don't have, I mean, I just.
No argument?
I have an argument.
What is it?
S waves in V2 plus the R waves in V5 is 35 plus the biphasic P waves in V1.
They're 30, they're really 30, maybe 32.
Yeah.
We have an LVA of minus 40.
Left
But
axis
still,
deviation. All right, so if you can squeeze out enough points that Estes lets you call it, you can go ahead and call it. I don't think it is.
one question on the peak T waves.
Where?
So V1, V2, V3, because I see those on subsequent EKG, and I can't remember what.
Well, you can just write it down.
Okay.
If you don't like the way the T waves look, you can just write it down, peaking of the T waves. Then
Okay. Okay.
someone who got that EKG back might say, well, I better check the patient's serum potassium. Serum potassium is what really spikes in it.
That's what I was gonna ask, would this show something like hyperkalemia?
No, hyperkalemia is shown by a blood test. It's not an EKG diagnosis. If you don't like the way the T waves look, you might call, peaking of the T waves. That's a primary SDT wave change.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Yeah, we put primary T wave changes.
Okay, 43. Kristen Nelson. She not here? Zachary?
I got sinus rhythm, heart rate 65, PR 0.16, QRS 0.08, QT 0.32, 10 degree normal axis. I got LVH, left ventricular hypertrophy, and septal ischemia. I saw a T-wave inversion on V1, and I wasn't sure if it counted for the ischemia.
You saw what?
Inverted T-wave on V1.
In V1, yeah.
I also saw sharp P's, thinking maybe right bundle branch block, but I wasn't sure.
No,
So-
there's no bundle branch block. There is LVH. The STT waves in V1 and V2 look a little funky, so there could be some anterior primary STT wave changes or anterior ischemia. Anything else?
Last atrial enlargement.
Yeah.
Yeah, left atrial enlargement. Or it might just be due to the LVH. Okay, 44. All. All down here. Carly Cecil.
Okay, I got sinus rhythm, heart rate of 100, so it's kind of on the line. PR of 0.16, QRS of 0.2, QT of 0.34, axis negative 65, so LAD. Let's see, long QRS, left atrial enlargement, elevated ST segments, so, and pretty much all of them. So I said a STEMI, and I wasn't sure if this was AFib or not for the rhythm, and I see some LVH.
Did you call it a sinus rhythm?
Yeah,
So if it's a sinus rhythm, it can't be atrial fib.
okay.
If there's a P wave causing each QRS, which there seems to be, then the rhythm is sinus. Does that make sense? Atrial fib is a rhythm. Okay? So did you call a bundle branch block? Possible.
Possible.
Put right.
This is a nasty EKG. It's a very dirty trick. Because this is a left bundle branch block.
No.
And V6 looks like a right bundle branch block.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking.
V1 does not look like a right bundle branch block, right? V1 looks like a left bundle branch block.
That's
So
confusing.
what has happened with this EKG, it took me months to figure out what the deal was. Someone hooked this patient up wrong.
Oh.
And what they did was they put V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. Didn't bring V4, 5, and 6 around to the lateral wall. So if you got the bundle branch block, you're halfway home.
Cool.
And picking up that this was put on wrong would be a extraordinary feat, actually.
Dr. Vanatta,
Uh-huh.
would it be ventricular tachycardia?
No, it's a bundle branch block. It's a
So-
sinus rhythm.
Okay, so.
So
that's
ventricular tachycardia is a rhythm, right?
Uh-huh.
This is a sinus rhythm.
Okay, because of CQ waves before QRS.
Because there's a P wave before each QRS. It looks a little bit like ventricular tachycardia because the QRS is too flat. It's not quite fast enough for VTAC, but it's sinus tachycardia.
Professor, did your RTD going on?
Mhm.
I'm
Okay.
don't even have it on mine right now.
Deal.
Yeah.
Would it be right,
Ventricular hypertrophy. Because of the, S waves in V1, they go below, like down so far.
That would be left ventricular hypertrophy. Right ventricular hypertrophy would be a tall R wave in V1 and V2.
Okay, thank you.
45. Ryan?
Let's see. Sinus, heart rate 80, yeah, 0.16, QRS went away, QT, looks kind of long, 0.44, in lead 1. I see Qs in 3, AVF, but left axis deviation, and because of 3 and AVF Q waves, I put inferior infarct. So long QT, I guess an inferior infarct left axis deviation is really much all I see.
Okay. Did anyone find a short PR interval in this one? I thought the PR interval in AVF was too short. It's a little short in lead 2 as well. I think this is probably a pre-excitation syndrome because the PR interval's too short. The problem with that is if it is a pre-excitation syndrome, then we can't necessarily call the inferior infarction. Right? There are 2 exceptions to the infarct, Q-wave infarct rule. One's a pre-excitation syndrome and one's a left bundle branch block. So it's hard to call this an inferior infarction if the PR is too small. Everyone look at lead 2 and lead AVF. See if you find the short PR intervals. You see them?
I got 0.12.
46. Bethany?
Okay, I got sinus rhythm, heart rate of 85, PR 0.2, QRS 0.08, QC 0.36 with a normal axis of +65. I got ST elevation in 2-3 AVF and 1, Q waves in 2-3 AVF, and ST elevation in V1 through V4. I said first degree AV block with an old inferior MI and an anterior septal injury.
Any disagreements with this?
What was the first statement?
I probably would not call the aneuryseptal injury. You're calling that because the ST segment is above the baseline. But the ST segment's very concave, T waves upright. I probably wouldn't call that on this one.
Doesn't AV block have to be greater than 0.2, or is it equal?
Oh, somewhere around there. If you call it 0.2 or greater, you can call it first degree. Yeah. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So with the P waves that are peaked, I just put a primary peak weight change.
Okay.
Does it have to be upside down for it to be a primary T
No.
wave?
If they're peaked T waves, peaked T waves is a primary T wave change. But I would call it peaked T waves because they mean something other, different than inverted T waves. These are pretty peaked. You wouldn't want to sit on, what is the #1 cause of peaking of the T waves?
Hyperkalemia? No.
Jacob says ischemia peaks the T waves.
I said that. That they peak right before they flip.
That's what he said.
So, and with the
He's the
ST
only person I've ever seen say that. I've never read it in a book. But that might be what's going on here. There's some ischemic heart disease in inferior leads, and the T waves are peaked. Okay? 47? Kendall?
I got sinus rhythm, heart rate of 90, PR of 0.16, QRS of 0.04. I couldn't determine the QT. Normal axis of +70. And then I saw inverted T waves in leads V1 through V5. I call that anteroseptal ischemia. And I saw right atrial enlargement because of the peak T waves in 2-3 and AVF.
You mean the tall P waves?
P waves, yes, sorry.
Anything else? These STT waves in V1 through V4, V5 are really ischemic. These are big time injury pattern right here. It's convex, it's T waves flipped upside down. These are really ugly.
Is there old inferior infarct in leads 3 and AVF?
Well, probably not. There are Q waves in lead 3. There are no Q waves in 2, and there are no Q waves in F that are big enough.
But Q wave, isn't it Q waves in 3 or 3?
If they're by themselves.
3 or 3. Yes.
Sorry, is it ischemia or injury?
Either one. Either one. Left. Oh, that it's a biphasic P wave, the terminal portion is not very big. I wouldn't go very far on it. If I was worried about it, I'd get an echo. Other questions? 48? Stacy?
Okay. I got sinus rhythm, heart rate of 95, PR of 0.16, QRS either 0.12 or 0.16, depending on where I was measuring, QT of 0.36, the axis of negative 75, so left axis deviation. I saw ST depression in V1 through V4, or I think that was ST or flip T waves. So I said anteroseptal ischemia. I saw what I thought was PVCs in 1, 2, and 3, and then right bundle branch block. from
Okay,
the
so you got right
archive.
bundle, you got a P wave in V1, 2, and 3, I mean a PVC in V1, V2, and V3. How do we know it's a PVC?
There doesn't change to match anything else on there, it's kind of out of place.
It's early. The QRS looks different than the rest of them. It's early and there's a compensatory pause. Now, how about the STT waves in V1, V2, and V3?
What's the difference between a Bishop pattern?
Fisher.
Yeah, it's
I
the,
don't think the term Bishop pattern's ever come off my lips. I don't know what that is.
it was like a BR,
A what?
BR, I don't remember what it was now, like a premature. It says if you have like the extra and E4. I'll look it up real fast now.
Okay. Any other questions? What about these T waves in V1, 2, and 3? How many call them ischemia? The reader. What the rest of you call them?
Right
Yeah,
bundle branch block.
they're appropriate for the bundle branch block. The T waves need to be opposite the last portion of the QRS. So V1, 2, and 3 are appropriate. V4 is a little inappropriate.
It's
Well, maybe not. No, it's okay.
I got it now.
Okay.
Benign early repolarization in V4.
Benign,
Early repolarization is shown in V4.
I'd leave that alone.
That's what I was.
Repolarization, by and large, is always benign.
But it said if it's like a V4,
That's what?
is where it.
More benign?
Well, I mean, that's like the, what's the word I'm looking for? Trademark.
Oh, I don't know.
So maybe that's.
I don't know about that. 49. Sarah. Hoffenberger.
Okay. Sorry, just making sure. So I got a sinus rhythm, heart rate of 70, PR of 0.2, QRS of 0.12, QT of 0.16, and I got a normal axis. And I saw pathological Q waves in V1, 2, and 3, with T wave inversion, and ST depression in V4, 5, and 6. So I called an age indeterminate anteroseptal infarct.
Okay. Anything else? What is your QRS interval?
I got 0.12. And there's absent R waves in V1, initial R waves. So what does that mean? I don't know either, that's asking.
Yeah, so there are initial Q waves in V1, 2, and 3.
Here, your little note
You
says
called
how do you
it, right?
explain the absent of
Did
initial.
you
I
call
didn't
that?
know why it's there, or why they're
Okay, so
missing.
Q waves are an infarct.
Oh, yeah, no, we called that, your note says how
Oh,
do
the
you
R
explain the absence of initial R waves in V1.
That's the
She said
infarct.
the Q, okay.
No,
I was like, I just overlooked.
But the problem is this is a right bundle branch block, and there's no RSR prime in V1. That's the reason the question is there. This is a right bundle branch block. QRS. Right bundle. Did everyone get 0.12?
Yeah.
Look at V1 and look at V6. The telltale sign for a right bundle branch block, besides the rabbit ears in V1, is this wide, swaggering S-wave. V1 and V6 look like that. There's a wide, swaggering S-wave in V1 and V6. Okay? It's just too wide. This looks so much like a right bundle branch block, I call it PRS 0.13. And the RR prime is not there in V1 because there's an anterior infarction.
Hi. Sorry, I was writing your phone usual. I got sinus rhythm, heart rate of 100, PR of 0.04, QRS of 0.12, QT of 0.28, normal axis. I had pre-excitation, an old anterior septal infarct, and left atrial enlargement.
What was the PR interval?
I had 0.04.
0.04. Where was it?
I didn't know which one I measured it in.
Look back at it again now in the limb leads and see what your PR interval is.
Not
It's not, it's not short. Okay? And so that leaves your anterior infarction. So you've got this V1, V2, V3, V4 aneuryseptal infarct. What's the age of the infarct?
Acute.
How many said old? How many said acute? Why did you say acute?
Elevated ST segment. I didn't see T-wave.
So if you're worried about an ST segment that's elevated off the baseline as an acute injury pattern or injury pattern, it's acute. That's always an acute finding, okay? If you've already got a Q wave, the infarct's been there for a while, at least hours. And so if you've got this elevated ST segment with upright T wave, in the presence of a Q wave, that's not an acute infarct. That's an old infarct. And since that ST segment is elevated so perfectly there, it's most likely representative of a left ventricular aneurysm where the infarct is. Does everyone understand what I mean by aneurysm? Okay? An aneurysm is a bulging off of the wall of a vessel. In this case, the vessel is the left ventricular muscle. So the muscle has died from the infarct, while the rest of the ventricle is contracting and getting smaller. This muscle that's dead can't contract, so it begins to balloon outward. It's a ballooning outward off of a vessel. And so left ventricular infarcts sometimes turn into left ventricular aneurysms. It's important to pick up left ventricular aneurysms because they can be the site of arrhythmias. They can be irritable and they can be the site of arrhythmias. If they're big enough, they can be the site of blood clots. Blood clots can form up in that aneurysmic bubble, if you will, and cause strokes. So being on the lookout where there are Q waves for elevated ST segments and upright T waves is a good thing to be looking for aneurysms. Does everyone understand why this is not an acute infarct?
Because of the Q wave.
Although the ST segment's elevated, there's a Q wave there, so it's an old infarct. Well, you can have a Q wave, acute finding. It's been there for a while. T wave's up front. Yeah.
Could we get like a list of all the rules to look for? There are a few in the front of the book, but not all the ones Is there any way we can do?
I don't know, I don't know if I've missed some. Which one are you most worried about?
I just feel like a lot of times we'll go through like the handful that are in the front, and then we'll get here and we'll say that, and then it'll be like, oh, did anyone pick up on this thing? That
Okay,
hasn't been
so
mentioned?
here's the reason, here's the reason for that. If I had done it the other way, if I had taught this course by giving you all the rules, you would have wound up not knowing how to read an EKG. Because you'd have spent all your time memorizing the rules. That's what all the books on EKG reading do. They give you all the rules and an example. But you go through that whole book and you kind of know some rules, but you don't know how to read an EKG. So by doing it this way, you'll be a little bit, we've still got half of them to go. So you'll be a little bit shaky on the rules because I didn't write them all down on the front. But that's why there's some space over to the right. If you come across a new rule, write it down over there.
Okay.
And earmark it. And then write them all on one piece of paper on your computer.
Yeah, there you go. And you can do the work. Any other questions? It's a good question, but there's a good explanation for why I didn't do it that way. Yes?
So you said on the aneurysm pattern, if you see ST elevation and an upright T wave, then it's more indicative of an aneurysm. Also, she wrote concave on the EKG. Is there any other signs for aneurysm as compared to ischemia?
On an EKG?
Right.
No. On an EKG, the only sign of an aneurysm is that first of all you have to have a Q wave. Then the ST segment is elevated and the T wave is upright.
Okay.
If the patient had an R wave in front of this, now you got to be a little bit concerned about that elevated ST segment being acute injury pattern, right? That would be really concerning. There's no infarct sitting there on the EKG, but that ST segment being so elevated, even though it's concave and upright T wave, you have to be really concerned that that's a STEMI. That's what someone might look like in the ER with clutching chest pain, and they haven't had time to kill their muscles, so there's no Q wave there. Okay? Any other questions? So you're getting better and you're getting faster, and you got half your EKGs to go. So by the end of this, you'll be able to read 80% of EKGs laid before you. For sure, you'll be able to pick up all of the important issues on an EKG. You might miss some of the subtleties, but you'll pick up all the important. Is there an infarct? Where is it? Is there a, what's the rhythm? Glancing at it, you'll be able to know whether it's a normal axis, right axis, or left axis. Just glancing at it, you're beginning to do that now. So you're well on your way. So we'll do 10 more tomorrow morning, 1 8 o'clock?
Tomorrow morning? Thursday and Friday.
No?
Thursday and Friday.
Tomorrow's what?
Good Shepherd.
Oh. I thought that was Thursday.
It's not changed
Yes.
this week, and this is the week that we changed you to Thursday and Friday.
Okay. So we've got Thursday at 8 a.m. and Friday at 8 a.m.
Yes.
All right, that's good. I'm glad I wasn't able to show up here tomorrow. I would have been pretty sure I was the wrong one in the room. Thank you.
You too.
Guys, run over here.
You ever go to a NASCAR race and you just see a car passing up? It makes that sound? Well, you know what point?
I do all of them? There's not It's not bad. I didn't do crap last night.
Thank you for humoring my analogy. It's very nice.
It didn't take us. Can we go to our normal spot?